All right, today I'm going to roast Ben. I'm just kidding. We're going to talk about our first date, which might have possibly been one of the worst first dates ever, but obviously ended up with something good.
And we haven't talked about this together in a very long time. I'll be curious what each other remember.
That's true. All right, let's get into it.
This is the Balanced Family Podcast with Ben.
And Jessica. There's a lot to balance when you have a family. Marriage, kids, health, career, while you're trying to balance all the opinions out there on how to do things right.
Today, we'll cut through the noise, tackle hard questions, and share stories as we try to get to the heart of the things that really matter.
All right, so we're going to talk a bit about our first date, but I think we need to first start out with how we met.
Well, I think I might have shared on one of the episodes.
You did, yeah.
When I, the dramatic, I saw you on the college campus
from afar.
And was just drawn to you.
It's very sweet. But we actually met at church. We've talked about that before as well. So we met at church.
But we were both students at the same time at the U of A.
Yeah.
You were a year ahead of me.
I was a year ahead of you. But we met at church.
Actually, technically a year and a half.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I've shared this or not. Jessica was such a tryhard that she graduated college with honors a semester early, 3.5 years.
Technically, I was working on my thesis the last semester. So I was done with classes, but I had to finish my undergrad thesis for a semester.
Okay. So, a lot of people, Jessica, take 5 years to finish a degree, and you did it in my opinion, you did it in 3.5.
Well, anyway, regardless, yeah. So, but we met at church. I was actually dating someone else when we first met. And then we just grew a friendship over time. And then things changed.
Yeah. So,
when was the first time
I can't remember. Yeah, I guess we can start just whenever we started liking each other. And yeah, when did we start liking each other? Was it the fall of 2009?
Yeah, I started kind of liking you. Yeah, it would have been fall of 2009 because we were in a class.
Maybe even summer.
We were in a class together that fall.
We were?
Yeah, as a prep. It was either that fall or that spring. I think it was that fall. I can't remember. Oh, no. I remember now. Okay, so for our master's program, that fall, we had to read a couple books. And then that spring, we had to take a class, and we took a class together that spring. And then we started the master's program that following fall, 2010.
But we were dating then. I'm talking
No, I know, but fall 2009, the reason why we started why we even started talking on the phone was because we were both reading this book. I can't remember what book it was.
Oh, and were we hey, oh my gosh, what do you think of this? Oh my gosh, it's such a coinky dink that we're reading this.
And I think I started noticing you and kind of was interested in you that fall for sure.
Yeah.
When we were interacting more than we had previously.
We were good friends.
Yeah.
We were good friends. I mean, both single, weren't looking to date.
No.
But just good friends. We always clicked. Mm-hmm. I remember we would talk and it would be hard for either of us to get a word in because we were probably interrupting each other and talking. We were just so energized by each other's presence.
Yeah.
And I just really liked that because I've always liked that about you is that we can just talk nonstop.
We're truly best friends.
Exactly.
And that we very much established a strong friendship.
Yeah.
Before we even
and it was
started
so
dating.
Pure, so just innocent. It was just it was just the perfect season of life for us to develop that friendship because we just really weren't looking to date. I mean, we were just hitting it off and
I actually
hanging
did
out
not
in groups.
like you necessarily, even when we were being friends and talking
Yeah, I never.
I wasn't
I never thought that. Yeah. But I remember in that season, around the same time, we both it was weird. It was you transformed from being, in my eyes, from being just a really good friend to a prospect. Yeah. And it was just oh my gosh, maybe I really, really like her. I do really, really like her. So man, I wish I knew what that book was.
I don't know, but I remember
it was probably really boring or something.
It was some education book. I just remember there was a phone call that we had that fall that I remember getting off the phone, and then I ended up talking to a girlfriend of mine and being I think I might like Ben. And she was like, what? And it was oh my gosh, and I remember it was like after the phone call, I had like butterflies in my stomach. It was like, oh my gosh. Like, cause it was one of those types of friendships where you get, and especially with a guy, like you get on the phone and then like 3 hours go by. And I remember feeling kind of guilty about that. Cause like we weren't dating, but we had just spent so much time on the phone. It was like one particular conversation that fall that just sticks out, that it was like, oh my gosh, I just spent a lot of time talking to this guy. I think I might like him. Oh my gosh, so.
Yeah. Now, did you have your pixie haircut then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I did. Yeah.
Jessica looked a lot different.
I had a pixie.
Yeah.
Yep. That
was it red?
It was. Yes.
Oh my gosh. What was up with that, Jess?
Well, okay. This gets into like when I was in college, I went through this like hipster stage where I cut my own hair into like a mullet, basically.
Okay, you like with scissors cut your hair?
Girl, it wasn't even scissors. It was a shaving razor. I would take a razor and like go like this and like
what? Like a
yes,
like a face like
a bic.
You would cut your hair with that?
Yes.
What?
Yes. So whenever we first met, that was how I was cutting my hair. And then I met my best friend, Sierra, who's a hairstylist, who was like, oh my God. And as we got to know each other, I realized that I'm going to be a professional at some, I like should look professional.
Yeah.
And at that time, that fall, I was working as a Title I instructional assistant with kindergartners and third graders at a local elementary school, working with like low income populations. And so it was around that time that I realized, I should probably look a little more professional.
Yeah.
But the only option for my hair was to cut it off into a pixie. Sierra was like, we needed to start all over again.
Yeah.
So
and it was brown by that point, right?
It was brown, but then I dyed it red. Yeah, I've been through many hair transitions. Man. But anyway, yeah. So I had a pixie when we first started liking each other.
Well, the reason I remember the pixie is because it's like it just added to like your spunk that I liked about you. Like I don't know, it was just like the hair even just added to just like Jessica's just so spunky. You know what's funny? Interesting connection in that time period. I was cutting my own hair too, but mine's like that's a little more normal.
But you were buzzing your hair though, right?
Yeah, I was buzzing my hair, and I remember in my dorm room, because I was an RA, so I was still in the dorms even in my junior and senior year. But I remember I would put the door had like a full length on the bathroom door, and I would like open it, and it would show to the mirror, my sink mirror, and I could be able to see the back of my head. It was like perfect. And that's how I saved money. I was buzzing my hair, and I'd just take the same length. I'd buzz my beard and hair all the same length, which I really want to now, but you never do let me. But anyway,
I get to have a say.
But the time that I asked you out.
Oh my gosh, that's a funny story.
It's hilarious. And it is such a great story of just me, how much just like an idiot I was back then. And just like, I don't know, people tell me I'm articulate and stuff now, but back then, like it was hard for me to get sentences out that were coherent because I was just just so anxious all the time. And that night we were going to
an informational session about our master's program.
About the master's program. So yeah, okay. So to give more context, you were a year ahead of me, or like I said, a year and a half. Because
I took a gap year.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you were an English major, graduated with honors, all that kind of stuff like that, and super genius. And you're going to be a teacher, and you've just like got this track. I was a history major. I was just kind of like, yeah, I guess I'll be a history teacher. I mean, it's like the classic, just not a lot of strategy in it. But, if you don't know what else you're going to do, you're going to teach. And I loved history. And about a year behind you, but because you took that gap year, we were in sync with our time period and go into that master's program, Masters of Art and Teaching. So yeah, the information meeting.
Yeah. So we went to the information meeting, and by that point I liked you. So I remember.
Did we ride together?
Yeah, we coordinated.
Really?
Because we were the only two that we knew that were going, and it was like, hey, are you going to be there? And it was like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
Oh, what a coincidence.
I don't know if we rode together, but we definitely met and like sat next to each other because we were good friends.
Well, I remember we had to park like at the Union and the meeting was in an Old Main.
Maybe you did pick me up or something.
Which is a long walk.
It's a long walk.
Across U of A campus.
I'm just thinking about where we're going with this.
It's a long walk. So we walked, so we walked all the way there. I'm sure we were talking. And I already knew by the end of the night, I was going to ask you out.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it
wasn't spontaneous. You were intentional. Like, this is the moment.
See, this is probably why, like, I missed all my financial aid deadlines and you got the scholarships and all like the information at that information meeting, like did not come through to me because I was probably just wrecked with nerves
bullets.
because I knew I wanted to ask you out that night. And I don't even know how long that meeting was. Yeah, but I don't remember like anything from that.
Yeah.
I remember the professor that was given the meeting because he had some jokes and it was like, okay, trying to relate to the young college kids. Yeah, we went to that meeting. There was a lot of people in that meeting too. Big auditorium and
it was a popular
program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then after the meeting, we're walking back and I noticed I remember noticing that you were kind of lingering. And
what do you mean?
Well, you just like there was not like intent of like, okay, we're going to walk back to the car.
Yeah.
It was like you like kind of, and then at one point you were like, do you want to sit down on this bench with you? Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I remember the bench.
Okay.
We should like someday we should go walk campus and like go sit on that bench.
I think we talked about doing that.
If the bench is still there.
Yeah.
But no, I remember, well, first of all, that's just kind of how it was, like not in a rush back then. So, yeah, we meandered.
But it was more than that. It was like I could feel that there was something coming. And honestly, by that point, I was like, why have you not asked me out? I know you like me. Like I was kind of like, so I was like anticipating. I was like, this is a great time, bruh.
Yeah.
If you're going to ask me out, like, let's do it. And so I remember like feeling nervous and kind of picking up on the vibe that you were also nervous. And that you were like not like walking back to the parking deck with like intent. You were kind of like, and you were definitely not as chatty.
Yeah. Because I was probably like, yeah. I bet you were just talking nonstop, and I was probably like, yeah, So yeah, I do remember for whatever reason. I think it was because we were already almost to the parking deck.
Yeah,
and it was like time's almost out.
Yeah,
Ben.
we were at like the big Union courtyard.
Yeah. And pause. Let's put a pause on the show here because not on the show. Let's put a pause on the story here because nowadays people just like text.
Yeah.
Like there's no romance. There's no drama.
And there's no nervousness that you're feeding off of one another. Like,
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like for, I guess back then, like it was still like you don't ask somebody out via text.
No.
Like that's super lame.
Yeah.
Like you are a loser.
You're copping out.
Yeah.
Like,
and maybe that's cool and normal now. And like everything's so informal. But back then it was like when you ask somebody out, like it's like you make it a thing.
You at least call them. But even then, even then it's like,
Yeah. Well,
better
anyway,
to do it in person.
Exactly. Especially if you really like somebody and you really want them to know your intentions.
Right.
And, but speaking of those intentions, I don't think I communicated those very well. Do you remember how I even said it?
You were stuttering. I do remember you were like, can you, I don't know, but
I mean,
you were just like, do you want to, go? Like, it was like that. It was just like, oh my God, just ask me the question. But then you basically were like, would you like to go? I think you said like get dinner, or I don't know if you were super explicit.
I think I probably way overcomplicated and made it super weird sounding like I just think maybe you and I should maybe have a gathering that's like just one-on-one.
No, but it was definitely like you felt the need to not just ask me out, but like to like go circle around it and like, I don't know. I can't remember though specifically what you said.
I'm sure it was,
but it was very stressful for me watching how stressed you were.
Yeah. So anyway, I remember you quickly being like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah. I was just like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, let's go hang out.
And I was
like,
okay. And Now this is where
things went
This
awry.
is where I had to face a decision, which was what to do for the first date. And this is like, it's just so embarrassing. That's why we're sharing it on such a story, because it's just great. But I remember just going through this unnecessarily long sequence of my brain of like how to choose a spot that's just not too serious. Like I was obsessed with just like keeping it chill, starting slow, and which is all noble and good. And that's great stuff. And that's always my relationship. That's always my advice for young people in relationships. This is just like, take it slow. Everything in our culture is trying to make you rush things. That's crazy. So anyway, I was really trying to take.
He was wanting to keep it very friend zoney,
but also like it's a date, and that was clear.
But we hadn't spent any one-on-one intentional personal like relationship time.
Yeah, we had
together.
never gone out for coffee or anything. It was just, we'd only just hung out in groups and stuff. So it was like, where could I go that's not going to be too datey, but also is like a place that I like. And I think I probably pitched you some ideas over the phone.
No, I had no idea what was coming.
What? Okay. Well, I at least went and picked you up.
You did pick me up.
And I don't know when I had told you where we're going, but this is so embarrassing.
Do you want me just to say it
no,
for you?
I want to get there because
Okay.
there's more rationale to it. Of like, I had no money, dude. And I was going to buy you dinner. Or did I buy you dinner? I didn't. Oh my gosh. Anyway.
I need you to get into it so I can explain what was going on in my mind.
This whole episode is about how dumb I was. But I had come to the conclusion that the best place to keep it friend zoney, not too serious, and also very affordable because it was half off wing night, would be Buffalo Wild Wings.
B-dubs.
Now,
B-dubs.
there may be people out here that are like, dude, that's our place. We love it. But like a sports bar wing place, not Jessica's thing.
Listen, no, it wasn't even just that. There are so many TVs in that establishment. I could not hear you because it was all so loud. There was a game going on, I guess, that night. I don't know. And it was so loud. So we're sitting at this high top table, which by the way, I hate because I'm short.
Okay,
my feet can't hit the ground. Anyway.
Back up. What was your initial thought whenever I said beat up? Because I mean, let me tell you, from my perspective, I was like, this is perfect. Perfect location.
I literally had never eaten at B-dubs before.
What?
Yeah, that date.
Okay.
So that's number one. I had never been in the establishment before. So when you said it, I didn't really like fully understand
that it's a dude place.
What it is.
Yeah.
And then I walk in and it's a bunch of bros drinking beer, TVs literally everywhere. I'm like getting like ADHD. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much stimuli. I remember thinking like, I feel really overwhelmed. This is so much stimuli. We get seated at a table and like, I'm like, I can barely hear you. So I'm trying to like lean in and just thinking like, I hate this. Like, this is not fun.
And it's just so funny, like how like unaware I was that I did not even like, there could have been other friend zoney places, like chill places, non-romantic, that were better than that.
Well, it was like hard for us to even talk. So I remember just like, it was like pointless almost to talk because it was so loud.
Maybe there was a game going on.
That's what I just said. Yeah, I said that there was a game.
Well, I mean, what I mean is there's always games, but maybe there was like a meaningful game, like a Razorback game or something.
Yes.
And maybe that was one of the motivators I had to go there. Like, I don't know what was going through my head.
I don't know
but
either,
I should have known. I mean, we had known each other for like a year. There was like not a lot of thought to like, what would Jessica like? What would make a good impression? Like, for whatever reason, I just thought Buffalo Wild Wings, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But anyway, and the entire, all I remember is just how horrible the whole night went.
It was
and
bad.
The conversation
was terrible.
It was
just non-existent. It was like you couldn't really talk.
We couldn't really talk, but I just remember probably just rambling on and on about all kinds of stuff. Well, I know that when I got nervous, around you, I would just it's just, I don't know, a Freudian slip or whatever. It would just cause me to talk about past relationships I've been in. I don't know why. I don't know why.
You did actually on that date.
It's like a nervous thing.
I remember when you talked about one particular, and it was just kind of like,
okay. And so that, I remember you feeling awkward, and then later me being just like, I am such an idiot. Like, she probably hates me, like never wants to go on a date with me again. Like,
well, and then we split the bill. So
are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did that, how did that go down?
Because you were just very clear, like, we're friends.
Okay. Okay.
And so you were like, well, I'm not paying, like, it was.
But that's what's dumb is like, we weren't just friends.
I feel like I'm roasting you, but
no, I'm roasting myself.
I know, it's just really funny.
Like, there was no chivalry to it.
You're lucky that I had interactions with you other than that I knew. I was like, okay, what the heck? But it was like, oh, and honestly, I walked away from that being like, does he like me? I actually don't know.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, he asked me out, but like, like, does he even actually like me? Because I still liked you. I didn't know you super deeply. And so I think I did get like a little peer in. I was like, oh, okay. This is interesting.
Man, it was just like a total bomb. And,
it was a bomb.
And I just remember just the self-loathing afterwards. It's like, oh my gosh, I rambled on about past girlfriends. I'm such an idiot. Now, what's funny is that it wasn't until a long time later that I realized how crazy it was that I didn't even buy your meal. We went to this dumb like bro restaurant. And you know, what's made me think about this was that time not too long ago that we went to an improv comedy club. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, there, you know, at an improv club, they're always like learning about the audience and getting them involved in stuff. And I remember there was a couple there. It was their first date.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy had been to that club before, and he like strategically took this girl on their first date to this club, and he sat up to the front so they would get involved and stuff. And I just remember being so impressed with that guy. I'm like, oh my gosh, like he like consciously thought about the place to take a girl for his first date. Because like in my mindset, it wasn't, this is the first date with somebody that I could potentially marry, and I want to leave a good impression and it be a special experience.
No, I
was trying to make it as like
chill,
insignificant as possible.
That's exactly,
which is totally fine. But it's just funny in hindsight,
so funny.
Because now like we don't go to Buffalo Wild Wings. It's like banned from our.
We've been there like maybe a few times, but it's definitely not my favorite place.
Yeah. Well, there was a certain point in our relationship that you eventually brought up. It was like, hey, Ben, we need to revisit something. We need some healing. She's like, on our first date, you brought me to Buffalo Wild Wings, and you're just like, do not ever take me to that place ever again.
It's not a date place I want to go to. It is not a date place.
Yeah.
It's like well, and I'm trying to remember what our second, because we did have another date after that, but I don't remember.
Where would that have been?
I don't know, but we did something together, because we started kind of dating, and then we took a break, and then we started dating again, you know, the whole thing. So we dated for about a month or two before we ended up.
I can't remember.
And by dated, I mean like it was very loose.
Yeah, like a date like, to us is like walking around the park for 3 hours.
Right.
Talking.
I think that like it was not like we weren't. Yeah, it was friend dating, getting to know each other.
And honestly, like we were both pretty cash strapped. Like, yeah, there was no option to go do the epic cool stuff. If you had me
pay for my own meal at a nice restaurant, totally, I would have been like, that's cool, whatever. Paying for my own meal at Buffalo Wild Wings after you just talked about your ex-girlfriend. Not good, man. Not good.
Yeah. So what was going through your head that night after like this is the worst date? I've like not made a good impression. Like what did you think about me?
I literally like was confused. It was just like, what?
Like whether I really liked you or not?
Yeah. Like, does he really like me? I definitely knew enough about you to know that I did like you. Like that didn't really totally change as much as it was like, I actually don't know if he likes me based off of this.
Because he took me to beat us
and talked about his ex-girlfriend. That was actually the main thing. Like the Buffalo Wild Wings and all that, yeah. But it was also the ex-girlfriend talk too. It was just like, I think that he may not be over his ex-girlfriend. Also, like, I don't know if he actually likes me. And so I was just kind of like, okay. But I was like, well, I'm not gonna, I mean, I don't think I followed up with you. I was like, he gonna call me. I'm not gonna call him.
Yeah,
That's for sure. And I think you did.
Which I did.
Yeah, you did.
I mean,
but,
we
would see each other at church and stuff. So it was just like, we're gonna run into each other again. And so
and whatever we did after that
was better. I think maybe we went and got coffee. I feel like maybe that was what it was.
Maybe
something a little step up for sure. But
man, I just remember.
But hey, we still ended up together.
And
miraculously.
That's the moral of the story is this is a great example. It's like a metaphor. It's just like, nothing is ever this perfect, beautiful, picturesque thing. It was just funny. Like we were just immature, young. I was just kind of like in my own head about a lot of stuff. But I do remember like just adoring you in that stage.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known. That's very sweet.
Adoring you. So yeah. And then, I don't know if we ever really did a lot of like super formal dates.
No, it wasn't until that summer of 2010 that we really started
dating more seriously. But even then, if you think about, here's the other thing. There's another defense of we were extremely casual people.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Like now it's like we want to go to a nice dinner.
Right.
And like when I take you on dates now, it's like I'm very much like speaking Jessica's language, which is like special experience, romantic, all that jazz. Back then, you and I were like extremely casual. Mm-hmm. And you were like hipster girl with the pixie red hair. Mm-hmm. So
I enjoyed unique. I loved walking around places. I definitely was casual. Had no pretenses. Didn't even really have I didn't even really love super cheesy romantic stuff.
True.
That was not my vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was definitely in your favor for sure. Yeah.
But what's funny is there's two sides of me. I am this, especially back then, this creative type, hipstery. We a lot of lesser known bands and stuff like that. But there was the bro sports bar guy in me too. It's I liked going to
you loved
having wings
sports.
and watching football.
You still do.
And it was this split personality.
Yeah.
And that night, probably the bro came out. The bro came out.
Well, you still got me, honey.
Yeah, yeah.
Love you no matter what, even with a rocky beginning.
Hey, and now, I've learned the art of surprising you.
That's true.
In ways that
I'll go ahead now and brag on him so that none of y'all think that he is horrible. But probably my top thing that he's done for me that was a complete surprise is we had smallish children. This is
very
pre-COVID.
Small children.
And I woke up one morning was it a scavenger hunt?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was a scavenger hunt that then I had to pack my bag and we started driving, and I knew we were driving south. I didn't know where we were going. Didn't know until many hours into driving. I thought first we were going to Little Rock because we're in Northwest Arkansas, but then we turned off and then realized we're going to Dallas. And then Ben surprised me with Hamilton tickets.
Which back then, Hamilton was just now really
I was obsessed with Hamilton.
It had just now gone on tour, and not a lot of people were into it. I mean, it's long before it was on Disney. Jessica was obsessed.
Obsessed. I downloaded the album and knew all the songs. And so he, just a few months after that, surprised me with tickets and a weekend away in Dallas. He had done all the childcare, had gotten a hotel, had picked out food, it was
everything. And we didn't have a lot of money. I saved for it.
He
really
saved
planned it.
money. Yeah.
And
it was super
so
sweet.
I redeemed myself. And there's been many, that's was our second or third scavenger hunt. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I like the drama now. I finally learned how to speak your love language.
Yeah, he definitely redeemed himself. Even while we were dating, you took me on a lot of really nice dates. For Christmas, you did that scavenger hunt around my parents' house.
Yeah, and I just remember your dad after that, he was like, bro, you're setting the bar way too high, man.
But you've continued to top it, so you do really good.
Trying to.
Yeah, we've gone a lot of places, and Ben is an expert at creating a good Well, no, you just know me so well,
right?
That now you really have like figured it out.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I think maybe deep down I saw that potential in you back
yeah,
then.
you know, and I would say like for young couples, like, yeah, like eventually you just really know each other. And it's just,
you figure it out.
That's one of the joys of building a strong, long marriage is like, it gets easier and like, you know each other so deeply. And just simple things like speaking each other's love language. It's just awesome to like
give.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
to know exactly how to create that spark in your spouse again.
Yep.
It's pretty fun.
It is fun.
So started out a little.
That's our story.
Yeah, started out a little bumpy, but now I know there's a couple out there, and I hope they contact us. And if they'd be like, "Dude, Buffalo Wild Wings is our place," and that's cool.
I would really love if you do have a funny first date story. Please email us or comment under the YouTube podcast video if you want, and tell us your horrible first date story that ended up. Yeah.
And let us know if we can read it on the show. That actually would be really funny.
Yeah.
To hear more stories.
Please do. We'll, if you send us it, we'll read it on the next podcast. So.
All right. Thanks for listening. See you guys.
Thank you so much for listening today. It would mean so much to us if you left a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you heard this.
And let us know your thoughts on today's episode by leaving a comment on Spotify or YouTube, where you can also watch these episodes.